Hey, this is FRJ Tracing and Uncontained Curiosity. I'm going to start kind of merging the channels, and um, I know the Uncontained Curiosity channel is mostly my steel cello I made, but I do a whole bunch of other projects too. And I have these fobs here I've been working on, which is a custom GameCube controller that uses Hall effect sensors. And so what I'm going to be showing here is how to do paracording, and there's like a whole bunch of different methods I've seen, but there's a couple of things that I don't really agree with some of them, and with my background with a lot of car work and electrical stuff and whatnot, I'm kind of explain why I'm going to do it the way that I'm going to show you today, how you can do it more easily and not kind of like be hung up with all the work and some of the problems you're going to run into. So first of all, you might see a lot of these kits online for paracording, which are for like art kits, and they're like 10 foot, right? A 550 pound or 650 pound paracord. Well, these will fit. One 10 footer will work on like the 6.5 foot standard GameCube controller, and it will not work on the 10 and a whatever foot Ultimate slash Smash 4 controllers. So ask me how I know. And so be ready for that kind of thing. And so then here's the other step, is that this will be without removing all of the shielding or the rubber or anything else like that. So this method is to maintain the controller cable in a way so that you're not going through and splitting and cutting and doing all this work. And so, and also to maintain the stock pins that I'm going to show you on here. And also, if you want to do JST connectors, this method will allow you to save some work on that too if you find yourself paracording after the fact. And so here's some of the misconceptions I see, where some people think it's fine to remove the shielding that's around here. And so that has like a big asterisk in front of it. If you want to skip this section, I'll put timestamps. But basically, the shielding is there to prevent your cable from becoming a big antenna. And so if you have like a lot of radio devices or your phone, cellular, if you have a lot of Bluetooth devices that are in your room, such as sound systems, anything that create a electromagnetic field, the cable without shielding becomes a huge antenna. And so this can be more problematic in competition and custom fobs with the microcontroller unit introducing interference and unexpected response. A lot of people say it's fine, but that can be wildly incorrect and depending on where you are. So, like for example, in some cities you have dirty power just from appliances running and inducing noise into the source power, like where you plug into. That can be microwaves or anything that generates a back EMF or has some kind of noise that it's introducing into the power source. And so, yes, there's a lot of filtering, but what some people will say is that it's fine, and that will not apply to everyone. So this kind of maintains the shielding, and in my opinion, you want to keep that as much as possible. There is and now here, and then the additional steps, I'm keeping the rubber because from all the steps I've seen where you remove the rubber and the here, it's in the interest of make it easier. But in reality, you get all the little nicks and things that are sticking out of your shielding just from it splitting from the process. And I don't think it's much better because, as you can see here, if we just have the rubber in the picture, look how easy this moves. I can push it from here, and Here, let me actually pull it. But you know, it'll move around once you kind of push on it, right? So then let me go the other way. I did a step to this, but like, look, I can pull it right off, right? So this is what you're dealing with if you just keep the rubber on there. So really the main process that I'm going to be showing you is how to make the pins and heat treat it in a way to where you can create this and allow your installation process to be really easy. So I'm going to just take this off and let me get this removed so that we can start from scratch here. Alright, so here's some of the stuff you're going to need. Some little flush cutters, some kind of tweezers. Some people use a dental pick, but I have like these really fine pointed tweezers. You're gonna need the tri-wing to open up a OEM style controller, some kind of box cutter, paracord obviously. 550 and 650 works, but obviously, you know, some of these are more expensive per foot, and if you get like a 550 and you have 10 foot, that will, because of the expansion from it being sleeved on, it'll become 6 foot instead. So same amount of material, but you'll lose like what, 75% of that, a little bit less. Actually, it did the 6.5 foot for the 10 foot. So yeah, like 60-70% of the length that you cut will be what you get when you actually get it on there using my method. So then I have this Armor All, and so this is for like car stuff, but this is really good for, I'm going to treat the rubber with it that surrounds the controller, and also it's a little slick, so it makes the process just a little bit more easy. And then you're going to need some kind of heat shrink, and then obviously a soldering station or some kind of soldering iron if you haven't removed it yet, and then heat gun, hot air gun, whatever you got. I got a lighter too. So I've done this process with 2-to-1 shrink, but I'm going to try 3-to-1. So what that means is basically just how much does it shrink compared to its normal size. So it'll be like a 3-to-1 will shrink 3 times, like to a third of its size as opposed to a half. And that'll make this process with the pins a little bit easier. So let me crack open this one, because some of these videos on this don't really, like, you need a reference of, like, if you don't have controllers laying around like I do, you're like, where do the wires go? And so this will consider this like what it should look like when you're done. And also taking it apart, obviously you got your tri-wings that are gonna be here. And so this is my fob, my personal one, and it's super basic. I haven't really done anything other than paracord and the fob board. So some people do like plugs and mouse switches and all that, and I'm kind of playing with that stuff on my OEM, like whatever controller, just to see how it feels, and then if I like it, then I move it over to this one. So I'll show some of that kind of stuff at the end. But sometimes you get a little stuck. Okay. Alright. So if you look in here, I personally had to extend this wire because of, like, this was like my second iteration of doing this. So I broke this black wire, the ground or whatever, and I think it's ground. I can't remember if it's like 5 volts and 3 volts. And anyway, the colors are from the inside out: blue, yellow, red, green, white, and black. And then that heat shrink's not, you know, it matches what it should be. But again, you're gonna have this order. You know, keep that note. That's what it's gonna look like when you take it off. And the blue, remember, from the inside out or whatever, it's gonna be like this, and the blue's gonna be on the inside. And then the actual fob, you can see this kind of separate, like the last pin has a different box on it, and so that one's gonna line up with blue, I believe, because it's like I can't remember if it's 5 or 3 point. It's voltage basically. You know, it's trying to, or it's ground. I don't know. Usually black is ground, but pin out doesn't come to mind right now. But that's the colors on you know, stock OEM controllers. So these little pins have, you can see numbers on there, and you're just gonna like stick this in there, pull these out, and once you get it past the there's like a little keeper right there, clip. Once you get it past there, you can get the tool out of the way. See, kind of stick it in there. This is good for like JST connectors, or those connectors that you can take on and off. So it'd be cool if you like make a few different cables that you want to have different colors and whatnot. So again, this method is to, you know, say you already did that mod and you don't want to undo it. This will allow you to get away with it and be all good. All right, so we're gonna get away with this zip tie and don't really need it. All right, so now you should have all your cables, you know, shown here, and you're gonna have this heat shrink here. So we gotta get that out of the way for this process to work. And so you can do this a couple ways. Usually I have a good luck of like starting it here, just kind of like splitting it, and then you can get your, like most flush cutters, you can kind of get under there, kind of like just cut at it, and then you can just slip it under there and do this, and just make sure you don't slip and cut the whole thing in half like I almost did there. So just imagine you didn't see that. But anyway, you can split it, and just watch out for the this black wire gets connected in a way that's not like the others, and so it's kind of somewhat exposed, so it can kind of break easily if you mess with it a lot. All right, so now let's get with the magic part. You should, you know, with this whole inch here, my method should work pretty good. As in, you shouldn't have to cut off any more of the rubber here. I've already did it once without doing that. All right, if you can see that, it's kind of the length I got. So then here's the magic. And so the black one's a little bit bigger than all the other ones. So you want to do this method with the black one all the way back. So you fold it back 2 at a time. So 2 get folded back to here, and just kind of like crimp it together. Then you can kind of do it with the ones that are next to each other. So then these 2 get kind of, they become friends. All right, don't twist them or anything. And then you take another 2 and you bend them right, so here, you bend them all the way back till the point where they get almost touching. All right, and then we do that again, but right where they connect and crimp. And so what this will do is it'll keep all the pins in sets of 2 so that they're not like in the way. Because really it's not the cable that's in the way, it's these freaking pins. It needs to come out. Oh, so making it look bad. It's just like literally heat shrink just on. Wanna let go. Alright, I think I got it. Oh my gosh. There's like a coating in here. You can read this. Oh, okay. Oofda. Alright. PSA. You ready for this? Adhesive lined. Oofda. Don't do that. That was well, this is really good for like not this. Yeah, so we're gonna do this one more time like a pro perfectly. So you just while it's a little hot, like don't burn yourself. Yeah, it's like, you know, try this at home, but like don't try this at home. And squeeze it together while, you know, burning your fingers off. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna like, see how I didn't heat shrink all around it? Trim it, because that little overlap right there is no fun, no bueno. You want it to be totally flush with the wire, and this is key to the process being better than stripping anything, because it keeps the niceness of the pins. It keeps the slipperiness of the rubber casing, and then it also doesn't bind up because of like bullcrap. Alright, cool. We did that, and then you heat shrink it. You just go for it. Boom, boom, boom. Don't melt anything. Alright, not adhesive lined. So then see, you have a little bit of overlap. You have 3 sets of 2, and it should be like, you can kind of eyeball it, and it should be all about the same diameter as the wire. Alright, so now, alright, so once the end of the connector, once you got the pins kind of disconnected, you're gonna wanna take this off. So how do you do that? You get it nice and hot. You're gonna want some pliers or these vice grips I got. They're adjustable, and then some electrical tape to kind of keep it from digging in too much, right? So first kind of get the on the end, on the actual connector. So let's get that, and it's gonna squish it a little bit, but you don't want to do it too much. Okay, and this has like a little auto off feature. You should be able to come right off. So this is where the most important part is you'll see, like, if we did this right with all the pins and everything, it'll be tough, but it'll, like, boom, we're already through. See that? Separated, done. All right, and so if that part is easy, then that means, like, I'll just take the sample right here. This is you know, trash, but we're going to use this as a sample here, and what you're going to expect. You're going to pull out everything. Boom. All right, cool. And then you're just gonna slip that on there, and like, see how easy that was? And it should like push from behind, and it should just like go on there, like super easy. The bend, if you can get that bend out right there, the S, if you can like kind of force it, and then it makes it even easier. But like, look at that, like money. You're still gotta kind of inchworm it, but like you squish it together, clamp with your right hand, pull, push, pull, and then there, see, we already made like we're already halfway through all the material. And so again, this method works because once it's on there, and I'll kind of like show you once this is all the way on here, and you're gonna have like some techniques. You'll get the hang of it. Is what I'm saying here. It's pretty easy. Push from behind and pull it through. And then occasionally, once you get like a lot going, you have to go through the whole cable and pull it through, just so it stops punching up. And it's nice because like you see the progress you make, and like you get like quite a few inches at a time, and it's kind of nice to see. I like that part when you get a lot going. But if this is difficult, that means you didn't do the heat shrink part right, or the pin folding thing. If this is not like this easy, then you did something wrong. Because this is how it was on the old controllers, this is how it is on the new ones. I mean, it's just like, a lot of people make a big fuss about this, but like, cutting off all the insulation of crap, don't want to do that. But there we go. See, and then once it's on here, look at that. See how easy that is? It just moves. And so, and it just goes throughout the whole thing. So then when you're done, and you heat it like I showed, where you heat this end and that end, and you pull it apart, then it doesn't move that much. So then, boom, that's the whole magic of this like process. And again, if you squeeze it together again, boom, done, easy, comes off. Look at it, money. So you're gonna get it all done, and you're gonna get to the end here, and it's gonna start fraying a little bit as you go, and it's inevitable. So you just come in here and you just trim it off. Scissors, flush cutters, whatever you got. Then, and again, the 15 foot just gave me so like actually 14 foot, yeah, give or take, did the 10 foot cable. So again, you get that like 60 to 70% ish going on. You have to have more, so what, 30 to 40% more pre-cut. So then you're gonna have, make sure it's all the way through, because look, this is where the connector, where's the freaking connector? There it is. So if you look at where the connector goes, you can kind of see a wear mark. Let's get this close. You can see a little wear mark, and then you gotta at least get it past there. So again, you know, try to get that all the way in there when you cut it free. And this will just keep it from pulling out there. And then so this last step, this acts just like heat shrink when you give it some fire. So we're just gonna do that. Don't do it too much. You could burn the plastic. Right, yep. And then that'll tighten it up. You can see you got very tight around there. And then now you can't really even pull it out. So now we're gonna have to go over to the drill. And you can also do this with a file, but the problem becomes when you try to string this on, this diameter is just a little bit too tight. So we're gonna get my drill bits out that I talked about. And you can do this with a drill press or whatever you got, an actual legitimate drill. You can even do it with little circular files if you don't have those. That's not circular, but it's just, trust me, there's a circle one over there. Let's see what size is. I think it's 3/16, if I'm not mistaken. That's where you're gonna go up to. Yeah, the American size, you know, freedom units is where you're gonna go to. If you go much bigger, it's gonna like, there's like a little bit in there that you can remove by accident, and it'll kind of, I mean, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to lose this little contour it has. But let's go to what my other one looks like, just to give you a perspective. Looks fine, in my opinion. It didn't really change much. So I'm gonna go drill this real quick and we'll be right back. All right, so I just got back in the drill press. You can take that same 3/16 one, and then you can see it goes right in. Actually, when you're doing it, when you're drilling it, it's going around, you can kind of do this little number, get a little bit more. And as you can see in there, maybe, maybe not. Do I have a better light? I don't know. Let's see. You can still see that little feature in there. So it doesn't totally obliterate that. Even when you do the wobbling thing where you waller it out a little bit more, because this should freely move. So it went from like, what's that, 5/32 seconds, whatever, it's in between 5/32 seconds and 3/16 inch, which I don't know what that is because it says so. So what's that, 3/16 it's gonna be 4.75. Okay, so you kind of want it at 5 millimeters is what I'm saying, for all the millimeter people, them M&Ms. All right, cool. So now, why am I doing it now? Because I have the squishy end, and it'll just kind of like, hopefully just go in there. If it doesn't, it might get hung up a little bit, and then you can just get something, kind of get a nick of it, because this is the excess. I still have like a foot of this that remained. Like I said, I cut like 15 foot, and I really got like a foot left over, so saying like a 14-foot cut would have worked, but better safe than sorry. And then now we're good. So now you should get to the heat shrink part, and it should kind of fight you just a little bit. We're almost there. See, we're halfway there. You know, work smarter, not harder kind of thing. Because we're going to be trimming this anyway. There you go. Boom, skis. And then it should be, with that 3/8, it should be just tight enough to have a very firm fit. And as you do this, it kind of tightens it up because of the way that it is. Make sure you don't mess up anything. And then you're gonna have this section where it's gonna want to kind of like start squishing on itself. So you're gonna have to like start pulling that through, and it might, see, it's like compressing on itself. But see, that's why we heat shrunk this, so it kind of keeps it from doing that. And then you're gonna pull it through, and you're gonna have to repeat that a couple times. It should get to the point where it gets there without a hitch. And then we get to the fun part where you press this on. So you can do this a couple ways, but like depending on how much you drill it out, we're gonna hope. I didn't try with my vice grips before. I don't think they open that much, but I actually have like a bench vise. And so what you can do is, I'm gonna probably take it over there and do it off camera, but basically you can get your pliers, you can put it behind the wire, and you can make it as loose as you want. Don't have to clamp, but then now you have this back behind the connector, and then you can just press it together. You can also, I've seen some people just like press it down like this, make sure it's really kind of stable, I guess. And there you go, you can do that. So I'm just gonna do this on the bench vise, but yeah, you just press it together, and go from there. All right, so then once you're all cleaned up here, you can treat this connector too. You're gonna start from the connector. Now this is super locked in, like it's not gonna come, this is not gonna come out now with the heat. When you heated it and press this on, it ain't going anywhere. So then you just take the cable and you like pull on it, doing kind of like the inchworm thing you were doing, but the opposite way. And what will this do? This will do is it'll keep this from getting all like moving around and stuff. It'll make it very tight on the cable, so it'll make it feel like it's like really on there nicely and not like squishy and moving around, and I don't know, it's just like it feels weird when it's not on all the way. I think the exit of the controller is after this bend down, if you remember how it was. So as long as you're like after that inch and before the S, so like probably like right around here, then you're fine cutting it off. So then the way that I do that is I just take this and I just do little circles. And then once you get like a little nick going, you can kind of get the tip of there cut. And then once the tip is cutting, then you can kind of continue that around. Make sure you're only cutting the actual paracord, and not like, you know, a wire or something fun like that. But yep, you can see the white from the rubber, so you know you're safe. You just do that in the reverse of what you were doing to get it on, and then your money just should come off. Stragglers that don't want to. There you go. Boom. All right, so how do we get this off? You know, I'm looking like a couple noobs right here, but you take the blue and you make sure that there's like the crimping part, and then there's like the little tang, and the tang goes out, and the crimping part goes like under the nut, like behind on the flat part, and the tang faces the number, and then it should just clip in. You can kind of feel it when it's in there, and you can see it too. Okay, we're all in, we're done. So it should look like this when you're done. Let me get it really up in your face. All right, we're cool with that. And then you shouldn't have any movement throughout the entire length. And then you just, you know, solder it back on there and you're done.